Melanie Wise, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Man, thank you so much.
Now tell us what you're doing with Together Nashville.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Together Nashville is a pretty new initiative in the city, although it's been getting kind of discussed around the city for many years. But ultimately, the heart of Together Nashville is to foster a greater unity within the body of Christ around the city, to foster more collaboration around the city, ultimately for the flourishing of Nashville, that the city of Nashville would be better. Because of the fact that the church is more united and collaborative. So that's kind of the
Jeremiah 29
vision.
commandment,
That's right. Yes.
Pray for the well-being of the city, for
That's
as it
right.
thrives, you will thrive also.
You will thrive, yes. And another really core foundational scripture for us is John 17.
Right.
When, and it's one of those scriptures that I'd read my whole life, but until I really kind of entered this space, I was like, I don't think I've really ever seen that part,
Right.
when those kind of things happen. And that Jesus is saying that the world is going to know that I came and that you love them as you love me because my followers are one.
Yeah, right. Because of
I'm like,
the
God, I
unity
always
of
heard
the
about like
followers,
unity, yeah. But like that he tied it to like his mission was something
and
that
the
had
validation of his mission.
That's right. And so, yeah, I think one of the questions that we would ask the church of our city is, man, if this was what Jesus prayed for, and to me, that says that Jesus knew that disunity was a threat to the mission,
Right. Oh, yeah.
How are we doing? Like, what are we doing to try to engage in that way? Because I think, and I will confess that I was one of the people who kind of went to that place of hearing about the idea of unity and collaboration. I'm like, I've been in vocational ministry around Middle Tennessee for 20 plus years. And the first time I heard about it, I was just like, well, that sounds like a big old dream.
Right,
how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
It just feels can feel insurmountable.
Yeah, especially when you know some of the players.
Right.
It's like,
You've been here long enough.
That is not going to work.
I don't know how you ever see that happening. And I'll be honest, from the outset, I had a moment of realizing, oh, this vision is impossible if the Holy Spirit does not do a work.
Right.
I cannot come up with enough good ideas. We cannot come up with enough programs or enough, convincing presentations to shift that in this city. It's going to require a real, true move of God. And so, from the get-go, I was like, man, again, I have been in ministry for all of my adult life, and never have I been involved in something that has me more desperate for the move of God. And I wish I could say that about all my previous roles, but I've just never been more aware in a work that I've done. This doesn't happen if you don't do this, Lord. So I want to be faithful to play our part, but there is a desperation that I have for a move of God that I've never experienced.
What are you desperate for?
So, that's such a great question. I am desperate for the Lord to move on the hearts of the believers, and especially the faith leaders around our city. Even when we hold gatherings, I'm just like, Lord, would you do something in their hearts that draws them to one another, that opens their eyes to maybe those areas where division has torn us apart, and that it breaks their hearts. That it's like, whoa, if this is what Jesus prayed, I see the brokenness. I see how we're not there. And how can we lean in to be part of kind of the answer to that prayer? And that there would be, and I have seen the Lord do it in some of these spaces where we're bringing faith leaders together. And again, I go into those rooms going, Lord, I can't draw their hearts to one another. I don't know how to do that, but you can. And then these just sweet moments of connections that happen in the room because I'm convinced that the Holy Spirit moved in that space, where there are pastors who've never sat down at a table together, but they're learning about each other's stories. They're starting to pray over one another. I've heard about faith leaders in the city who on the heels of some of those gatherings, they're like, let's get together. Like, I want to have lunch together. I want to hear more about your story. And I want to hear more about, and they're connecting as brothers and sisters first. And that is ultimately my hope and prayer, is that this isn't just because collaboration is a good strategic decision, like you're going to get more done or you're going to get to see more fruit. Those things are true. But ultimately, to draw the family of God together and to see like deep wounds and historical divides begin to heal, like that's requiring a move of God. So what is our part in that, and providing those opportunities, but then truth, like the desperation for God to do what only God can do in the hearts of his people.
How did you end up in this ministry?
That's a good question. Yes, so when I first moved to the Middle Tennessee area right out of college, came to do the music thing, because that's what you do, right? You move to Nashville. And very, very quickly realized, whoa, this is not the path that the Lord has for me here. And I ended up working at a church in Franklin, and was there for about 7 years. And then I ended up working at a nonprofit, a faith-based nonprofit, for the last 13 years. And so, again, had seen the beauty of the church, and I'd seen the brokenness of the church as well. And I think it's funny, because it's like sometimes you don't even know something that the Lord has put inside of you until it's kind of called out, you know? And there was something about the vision of Together Nashville that was very compelling, very like, again, kind of that, how in the world does that ever happen in our city? I don't know. But it started to bring some things alive inside of me that just, even some of it was just burdens that I have felt, but also just certain wirings I felt like that the Lord has put inside of me that just felt so drawn to this work. And so I knew some of the people who'd been kind of ideating on this for a few years. And so they had shared about the idea with me and the vision with me. And again, a lot of faith leaders around the city had been talking about it, but I think they had kind of reached that juncture
and
of
we
need
been sporadic
someone.
moments. There was the Billy Graham Crusade.
Absolutely.
And that
Operation
kind of
Andrew group that came out of that beautiful work.
Comes out of that,
And I can truly say, as I've entered into this kind of space, and as I've spent the better part of the last year and a half having a lot of lunches and a lot of coffees around the city, but just meeting faith leaders, meeting pastors, ministry leaders around the city, I have such a growing awareness of how this is not the first time this conversation has been had around our city. And there have been pastors that have been contending for this for years and years and years. And I have such a sense of like, Lord, like we're just being called into the story that you have already been writing. I will say that I have more hope than I could have ever had before, of what God is doing in our city right now. And I'm hearing this from pastors who've been here for decades. So I'm like, okay, it's one thing for me to be kind of new to this space and new to these conversations and go, I feel like God's really doing something. But to hear this from people who've been in this city and ministering in the city for decades, to go, something is happening now. And I'm hearing it enough and seeing it enough with my own eyes that I do just have such a sense of, oh my goodness, God is doing something in our city that he was doing well before Together Nashville came on the scene, and that he's going to continue to do well after. But we just get our one part. We just get this one season of time to try to be faithful to what our part is in this, knowing that we are one of many people that carry this burden and this heart for the city.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned to look for, if we thought God was doing something, is did he affirm and confirm that among the membership? Okay, hey, we got an idea. Maybe we would just be quiet and watch.
Yes.
If people with certain gifts and talent started showing up and going, hey, I have this passion or I have this burden and I think we could do this, then that would be the affirmation that we were looking for.
Yes, absolutely. And that, I think, is what I have been honestly a little pleasantly surprised to see. I'm like, this is resonating with people. I feel like there is so much of kind of even my own personal passion and heart that I bring into this is going, man, I've seen the weight of pastoral leadership. Part of that was when I worked at the church for a few years. And then even the work that I did at the nonprofit there was a lot of just kind of partnering and coming alongside pastors and pastoral leaders in churches, and just knowing the weight, the overwhelm, the just what they carry.
How have you seen that lived out in the lives of the pastors?
Yeah,
because we talk about a lot about how pastors have to take good care of themselves if they're going to take good care of their congregations. Okay,
Yes.
and one of the things that we find out is how lonely pastors are, how separated they are, how
Yes.
many of them are in crisis and don't know who to call.
Yes. Yes. And I think that is what I think that that's one of the reasons that this idea of coming together and unity and friendship amongst the leaders in our city is resonating, because I saw that within one context, but now I think I'm starting to see that more across the city. Pastors who were like, I would actually love to come into a room to simply sit with other leaders across the city and just get to know one another and build relationships. I genuinely was surprised at how many were just hungry for that. I just need friends in this thing, you know? And so I think there's the relational aspect of that, of having that community. But I also think there's like the missional piece of that, of going, I mean, I saw it again. Now, I was like in my 20s, and I am serving as one of the youth ministers at the church where I was, and I didn't know better. No one told me that the weight of all of these, young people's
All
spiritual
the stories
journeys.
that they tell you, that you end up carrying.
I got to carry this, and I, blessed, I did have parents in our church who, would imply like their spiritual well-being is now
That's why we hired you.
right.
Yeah.
23-year-old, like, oh, sure, I got this, and I didn't know different. I had no one to be able to kind of maybe particularly say, like, that's actually not your weight to carry, So I just think, I know that is a pressure that even people who've got strong support and people speaking into their life, like so many of the ways that I know you're pouring into leaders, and that you even, like the leaders that I know that have come out of Brentwood Baptist over the years, that I even was able to sit under, people like Aaron Bryant. Like, I know the kind of support and care that you had for them and the way that you built them up and continue to do so. So I'm just so grateful for that. And I just see that even with support and even with the wisdom of people, it can be so easy to start feeling like I carry this, as much as you can know what is true. And so I have such a heart to say, go, the weight of this city is not on you alone. And there are 700 pastors around Middle Tennessee that want to serve and love this city and this community. And what does it look like to come together and serve in a more connected and collaborative way, so that you have a real tangible way to go, oh, I'm not alone. Yes, relationally, I'm not alone, but also missionally in this city, there are people who carry the same heart as maybe my congregation. I'm always interested to know, like, what is God laying on the hearts of specific churches and specific pastors, and how is God uniquely wiring your congregation to serve the city? Because guess what? You do not have to do it all. You really don't have to do it all. And when you get connected to that larger system, you realize, oh, like, all of you guys are serving this community. All of you are serving this issue. We don't have to do it all ourselves.
We remind people all the time that everybody has a gift.
Yeah.
No one has all the gifts.
Yes.
Because there's something about us working together that brings glory and honor to God in a way that one person doing it can't.
That's right.
And when the world sees, we don't know how that's a team. We don't know how they work with them to do this. That they say, okay, maybe there is something to this God thing.
There's something there.
And do that.
Yeah, we talk about like, what would it look like for there to be like a shocking unity? Because, I mean, goodness knows, in our polarized world today, unity is shocking. And for there to be people who go like, what is it that holds those people together? Because they should not be in a room together. That doesn't make any sense that they would be in community with one another.
Friends. Yeah.
Absolutely. So just to be curious of like, what is it that's keeping them together? Yeah. So yeah, I am very hopeful that this, that Together Nashville, providing opportunities for people to connect relationally, to connect missionally, to explore collaboration. Again,
how does Together Nashville do that? Is it workshops?
Yeah.
Coffee, lunches? If you're going to be pastors, you're going to have food there somewhere.
That's true. So. Food, I have learned, it will bring the people. serve some good food. It matters. It does matter. Yes. So to date, we have really been focused on that relational building, like building those friendships, building trust. And I do believe that there's a day coming that we will lean into even going, man, what does it look like for us to provide opportunities for some of that deeper unity work, the hard unity work, where we start actually having dialogue around the things, like historical things that have divided us, whether that's racially or culturally or politically, goodness gracious, like theologically, the things that have really been strong dividing walls. And there's just beautiful work that I've seen coming out of some other cities. We're connected with a larger kind of group of people under something called the City Leaders Collective. And so these are all just people in their cities that are kind of trying to lead out this kind of work. And so there's just some beautiful things happening in cities around the country where there's opportunities being made for people that are very, very different and have historically been very, very divided to come together over the course of time and have some dialogue and even some healing conversations around that. So I would love to see us lean into that eventually. So that's more on the relational side. But then when it comes to kind of like addressing the needs of our city, we honestly have still been in such an early formation of going like, who all is doing what around the city? And I am utterly blown away by how many incredible human beings are in this city. I just never cease to be amazed at the people that God has brought to the city. But, you know, we kind of are trying to just be aware of where does there seem, I like what you just said earlier about kind of like if there's something that's kind of stirring, we go, okay, who else? And we'll just see. We'll just see what Holy Spirit is doing over in this kind of area, or this issue in our city. And so a real kind of more tangible one that's even coming up soon is I started hearing a lot of people talking about disaster response and like the body of Christ, the church just seems to be pretty disconnected in this space. You know, maybe denominationally there's more kind of going on, but like, what does it look like for the church, the faith community to be better connected in this specific space?
Well, you know, the history of Nashville was when the tornado hit. The community responded so well that it didn't get the news coverage that it actually deserved. And when the news finally did show up, you know, the CNNs and that kind of thing, they were walking around town going and talking to our friends going, we had no idea this was happening because nobody was complaining. Neighbors went, you know, the Kairos, you know, you were part of Kairos World. Those guys went door to door. We just get in the car and drive down and just go door to door helping people.
That's right.
And that happened all over the city.
Yes. And I remember I was here for the flood just even seeing like the power of people just coming together to serve and love their city. And I think that was a seed planted in that time of just of seeing what happens when people can come together. And quite frankly, disaster response is it's a little bit easier for people to go like, I don't need to agree with you on baptism to go serve our neighbor who needs, you know,
to cut down a tree.
To cut down a tree, that's right. Yeah. But so what Together Nashville is doing specifically in that space is going, hey, you know, we've built a lot of different connections and relationships around the city. We're going to set a table for a conversation. We're not trying to be an authority in this space or tell you all what you should do, but there seems to be some energy for better collaboration in the future. So let's just get in a room together. We do have someone who actually knows what they're talking about coming in to facilitate that because I do not need to be facilitating that conversation.
Yeah. But even if it was just the city knows there's one number to call.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've got a problem and there's one number.
Yes.
And when we call that number, then everybody will be
to mobilize. Absolutely. That would be a dream. That would be amazing. And so, yeah, I will say I didn't know what the response would be. I'd had some conversations with some different people, Vicki Howell, Brentwood Baptist being one of them. And we're like, well, let's just call a few people together and see what happens in that space. And so I was hoping for maybe like 15, 20 people might be willing to come together to have a conversation. And we're getting close to 60 now who've registered to come from churches all over and ministries all over the city.
Give guys time to, you know, play with a chainsaw and a pickup truck.
They're ready.
Oh man, what are you talking about?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I have no idea what to expect out of that room, to be completely honest with you. But these are all people there are some people from the Tennessee Baptist Mission Board, like denominational leaders that are coming in. And some of them have actually said in response to our invitation, it's about time someone call this conversation together. I'm like, okay. So if Together Nashville, we've kind of, likened it to if the church is a body, then we want to try to serve as ligaments, like just connective tissue around the city to go, okay, like we've built these relationships around the city. Like, so when something like this comes up, let's get in a room. Let's talk about how to be better connected going forward. I have no idea what's going to come out of that conversation. And that's not particularly our goal to tell or to dictate that, but to provide an opportunity for collaboration and see what happens. And then we'll support that as best we can,
well,
in the future.
Point that in Nashville, and if you name an issue, we probably got one of the better nonprofits dealing with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of crazy in Middle Tennessee about that. But to have an opportunity to convene a meeting where others can learn, here's what we have learned, so that when you're starting it in your church, you don't make the same mistakes again.
Yes, yes.
As I tell people, wisdom means I screwed up before you did. That's
good.
That's all wisdom is. Now, I have the scar, so don't do that.
Right. That's right. Yes. That's important.
So if you can create those kind of conversations, where people can share, because there's nothing more validating to your ministry than somebody else ask to help me, show me how you did this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And there's some even wonderful connecting groups that have done that in the city. I mean, Unite the Light is something that's come out of Brentwood Baptist, and Mission Increase, and these groups that are just bringing the nonprofit community together to just learn from one another.
I told people all the time, when I was pastor Brentwood, whatever you wanted to do, there was somebody in the church who was top 2 or 3 of the nation in doing that.
So true.
Wouldn't volunteer for anything.
Yes.
You went and found them.
Yes.
And said, hey, here's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I can do that, and bam.
That's so true. That's so true.
And so we have an entire city of that kind of talent, passion, and
That's
all
right.
that.
That's right.
That if we could mobilize it and give it bones, to hang on to.
Yes,
You got to have some kind of skeleton, or the body doesn't work.
Some sort of. I know that's being kind of like a backbone agency to help connect those different pieces, and I do think there's part of it that I've heard this in different rooms, especially with pastors who've just said, like, we don't know where to go to find out who is doing what. And we're like, okay, I mean, maybe that's a gap. If I could call you and
say, hey, we're interested in learning this, who's best?
Right,
and
right.
you can put me there, then you've already given them the goodwill seal of approval.
Right.
And I don't have to do all the background checks and everything else, and I can save a lot of time.
Yes. Well, and then hopefully that can reduce some of the maybe unnecessary duplication of work. And I'm not, when someone says, I have a heart to start a new thing, and I'm like, great. And maybe that is exactly what the Lord has called you to do. You should know about these people as well.
What we did was when, the big thing was, let's find out your gifts and where God wants you to do and what he wants you to be involved in. And we would have a lot of people say, I have a passion for this. Okay. Then we're going to send you down to Hope Clinic.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Because we don't need to reinvent that wheel. They've already done it. I'm going to give them a call, give them a heads up. You do that. And it just saved us so much time and effort. And we don't need, it's better to have one that's really doing it well than 100 mediocre.
Oh, it's so good.
Kind of things.
Yes. I feel like Brentwood Baptist has done a really beautiful job of that, of partnering with a nonprofit community, and doing exactly what you described, of just of just pointing people at, you carry that heart. And there is such a need for volunteering and serving within your local church, and it matters. And I think one of the things that I've seen so much that's come out of Brentwood Baptist is just like, and also we know you carry passion and other things. Yes. The place ministry, I don't know if place is still going there,
sure
but
is.
Man, that was such a good way to go, how do we connect you missionally in the city and what is happening around? I mean, did such a wonderful job. And that's a dynamic that can happen around the city, is kind of that the congregation nonprofit relationship can be a little bit rocky. And I just think you all did such a wonderful job, and I'm sure continue to do a wonderful job of bridging that and going, we are all part of the body. We are all part of the church, and not seeing maybe the nonprofit community as other, but part of. And how do we bridge that? I just think it was done so beautifully.
Now, I wanted
there.
to follow up before we get too far down this road here. A lot of what you have discovered is about the loneliness of pastors. So tell me about what you have found out.
You know, it's interesting. In a very different way, I feel like I have personally experienced a different kind of loneliness as I stepped into this role, where I realized, wearing like even an executive director hat is different than any other hat that I've worn. And there's a different weight to it that I wake up with every morning, where I've been on senior leadership teams, I've been on church staffs, but I have never worn this hat where it's like the decisions that I am making every day is shaping the entire direction of an entire thing. Like that's a different weight. And so I have realized like I'm feeling lonely already, like immediately. It was weird because I'm like, I don't know how many other people feel this way. I know there's a lot of executive directors out there, but even women in this space. And so I immediately was looking for women who know what this feels like. And as I sat down with them and I said, I just want to be around women that are leading in this space, that are leading in a way that I want to emulate, that I want to learn from. And what I would hear back from them is, oh, yes, like we should get together. You know, and I'm like, oh, y'all don't already get together? Like, yes, we should get together. And I've learned that there are places where that's happening, but I realized there's something about sitting alongside people who understand what you're carrying because they also carry that in their own way. And so, yeah, you know, like there's a group of women that I'm now connecting with that are CEOs and executive directors of nonprofits, but that just understand that in a way that not everybody can fully understand. So now I have almost a different level of understanding, especially for lead pastors, because I just know in theory, not because I've ever worn that hat, but there is a weight to that no one can fully comprehend unless you've done it or you're doing it. And so I think in a different way, understand the need. Yes, I want faith leaders in this city to have friendships and relationships, but the loneliness of the lead pastor has to feel like a different type of lonely, you know? And so as I'm having conversations with lead pastors, I know that there are beautiful places where pastors are coming together and building those kinds of friendships around the city. It is happening, and I'm so encouraged by that. But now I just feel like such a deep desire to every time I meet a pastor of just going like, do you have that kind of community? And a lot of times they do, or they have 2 or 3 pastors they meet with and they kind of share that together. But wanting to be sure that every pastor in this city has that. And if they don't, how can I connect you with the places where I know that's happening? And I've been able to be in the rooms where I'm seeing lead pastors come together and bear each other's burdens and cry together and pray over one another, speak life into each other. And I mean, it brings me to tears every time because I'm like, this is what the body looks like. This is what family looks like, encouragement, and really like spurring one another on. It's just a beautiful thing.
I mean, this ability to reach across denominations is a recent development. I mean, when I was just getting started, there were Southern Baptists and them.
Yeah.
And everybody else was them.
That was right. Yes.
And to all of them, Southern Baptists were
them. Right.
So that's a recent thing. But I think one of the things that we're finding out is that if we don't stick together in some kind of way, there won't be anybody. Yeah. You know, what's the old joke? They came for this, and I wasn't that. And,
yeah,
you know, and
right.
And finally they came for me, and there wasn't anybody left to speak up. But you know, people used to be shocked at me because I would sit down with them and go, "What are you looking for in a church? What are you looking for?" And they would say, "Well, we love this kind of worship," and I would tell them, "That's not us. We don't do it that way. And if you come here, you're going to be mad every Sunday." And we're eventually going to get mad with you.
Right.
But I
Oh,
know who
man.
does that worship, and I know who does
Yes.
it well. So let me call them
Wow.
and tell them you're coming.
Yeah.
And they would go, I said, listen, we work for the same boss.
So good.
We work for the same boss. My job isn't to get you in my church. My job is to get you to where Jesus wants
That's
you.
right.
Okay? Now, if I've done that and we can facilitate that, then I'm happy to do that. And I want to be your friend, but I'm going to disappoint you every Sunday you come.
That's good. That's very
You
good.
know, I don't wear a robe.
As if you've experienced
and if
that
you're looking,
before.
And
Yeah.
if you're looking for me to wear a robe, you're
Yep.
going to be mad every time you see me Sunday.
Oh, man, that's so good. That's such wisdom. But, man, it's funny because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about my peers who kind of lead similar works in their cities. And it's interesting to talk to my peers in Portland or in New York City or in the Bay Area. And I'm like, oh, we are not in the same, we're not in the same world. And I think there is such a, not to say that there's not division and things anywhere, but I think there is an inclination and an understanding that, like, if we don't stick together in Portland, you know, like there's just a hunger to be together, maybe that isn't as felt here.
Interdenominational group the other day, and I said, you guys need to remember those pastors in Africa aren't being killed because they're Church of Christ or because they're Baptist. They're being killed because they're Christian.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And we're seeing that same kind of stuff happen. So,
right.
you know,
We might want to.
you might want to
take
be sure
note.
what kind of jersey you get
That's
on.
good. No, that's really, really good. And I
with
think
that.
it's interesting too, because one of the things that I carry really in my heart for Together Nashville is really looking at the next generation. And, you know, it's more just things that I'm pondering and things that I'm just kind of praying through of like, man, I don't know that I'm seeing a generation that's really hungry for the structures that we've built.
No, very different.
I think they're ready for something different. And quite frankly, I sense, and the more conversations I have with young leaders around the city, the more I sense, like, I think what you're hungry for resembles something that looks more like how God architected his church to work than what you're getting handed. And so what I'm sensing is that they're like,
the transition of the boomers off of the states, and all the boomers are retiring now, and you've got the alphabet generations coming in. There is a tsunami of change hitting the church that will. Everything's fast now, so the change is going to hit it like that. For instance, Gen X, we're always told, do not give. Millennials do not give. They do give, and they give generously, but they give to a particular person or particular thing.
that's right, yeah.
Okay, they will not give to a bucket. So if you and I were going to pass a bucket and say, hey, all our mission work comes out of this, not going to do it. If you come in and say, there's a family over here, we're buying Thanksgiving dinner, they will give you the shirt off their back.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a very different way of talking about stewardship and money and investment. They will tell you they tithe. Do you tithe? Yes. 10% of my income. 2% goes to a missionary I'm sponsoring in Guatemala. 3% goes to a student I'm putting through school in Uganda. You know, and another 2% goes to my church. So it adds up to 10%.
Right. I'm giving away 10%. Yeah.
But it's not the straight 10% to the church that my generation grew up with.
That's
so
right.
It's very different.
Well, and I mean, you've got a generation. I feel like I'm kind of like in between. I'm in that, like, you know, I'm looking at a generation that I'm definitely older than, but that are stepping up and stepping into places of leadership. And I'm going, I don't know if what's coming again is going to connect with what y'all want. And I think you've got this whole generation who has connection like in their DNA. I mean, it's literally what they've been, for better or for worse. You know, there's this sense of like, I can be connected to the whole world. Right. And so I'm actually very interested in what's happening across the whole city. And I'm meeting these young adults who they're like, yeah, we go to, and I mean, I think part of this is also being a young adult. It's like, this is why something like Kairos was just so, it's like, yeah, it's tied to Brentwood Baptist. But I don't go because I'm a Baptist. I go because young adults are connecting in this place to worship the Lord, you know? And so I think part of that is a generational thing. But also I think there's this sense of we're tired of the division. Like we want to move forward together. We want to be connected. We want to support each other. And we've got this just, even just kind of the idea of like how things like Uber and Facebook and Airbnb have like democratized everything. It's like it's all a platform, and it's all kind of.
I grew up in a church where we were told what not to do every Sunday. This is what you don't do. And then we'd get together the next Sunday and thank God we hadn't done anything.
Oh, man, yes. I'm pretty sure I've heard you say that before. Now that you're saying that, yes, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, I think there's that sense of like anyone can kind of do anything now. Like if you know, there's not this hierarchical structure that we're kind of so used to, even in things like I said, like it's like there was a taxi service, like we can all take people around, and so it's kind of like going, okay, the hierarchical structures aren't really appealing anymore to this next generation. It's just not what they're used to seeing in the world around them, and the fact that there's this desire for connection and for collaboration and knowing what everyone's doing and this shared mission and this shared, like, my hope and prayer is that Together Nashville can be part of helping provide a new framework and a new pathway for the church for the next generation.
I found it interesting on your website that the statement of faith, or the statement that Together Nashville has kind of gelled around, was the Nicene Creed.
Yes.
That's not something you usually find laying around a table somewhere.
Good point.
Yeah.
Not framed.
So how did your organization end up with the Nicene Creed?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That was determined well before I came on board, but I also, again, connected with all these other cities. Many of the other cities have named the Nicene Creed kind of as like their theological center.
Right.
Because at some point you have to go like, well, what does it mean to engage with Together Nashville? And do you engage with this kind of church or that kind of church? Or what if they believe this? And you can get
Well, I think it's important for us to
whirlwind.
Underline that this is not an interfaith organization.
Correct. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
This is a multi-denominational,
yes,
but very Christian denomination.
That's right. Yes.
And the statement, centering statement, is the Nicene Creed.
Is the Nicene Creed. And what's interesting is that when you really look at the Nicene Creed and you read the whole, it's like there's a lot. There's a lot in here. And I almost wonder sometimes, have we forgotten how incredible it is that we all agree with all of this?
That's right, yeah.
Like when you really read it.
The great thing about those creeds is those things had been field tested.
Yes.
These weren't academic things. These are the things that we have found out in the living of the church.
Yes.
And if we can agree on these handful of statements, then we'll be able to do everything else that we want to see get done.
And that's our question, is going, man, and I'll say, even for me personally, I've never been to seminary. I've never done a lot of deep diving into all of these different, denominational theological approaches. But when I look at that, I go, this to me is like this is the core. This is like this is what differentiates the Christian faith from everyone else. But I did not know how many different streams of the Christian faith are aligned with the Nicene Creed.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know. So I've even met people who are part of.
Trace it all back.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, telling myself here a little bit, but I've had conversations with people just randomly, like in a coffee shop, and they'll tell me what church they're part of, and I'm like, I've never heard of that one, and then I'm like looking them up when they leave, like, are they Nicene Creed aligned? Oh my goodness, I did not know that stream of the Christian faith is aligned with Nicene Creed. So this is a much broader group, honestly, than I even knew going in. But I'm like, man, if we go like, this is what defines us as the family of God, as Christians, as followers of Jesus. Could we sit around the table and acknowledge that we're in the same family if we're aligned with this? Right. And is there anything else that you would need to add to this to be able to acknowledge that we're in the same family? If so, this might get a little weird for you. If you're like, I cannot sit down at the table and acknowledge that someone who disagrees with me on this or that issue, on baptism, maybe on women in leadership, or even the LGBTQ conversation. If we don't agree on that, I cannot acknowledge that we're in the same family. And if not, there's no, like, we would never want to push people past what they believe is right or wrong or condemn that.
Right.
But this Together Nashville space might get a little bit uncomfortable for you.
Yeah.
Because we would acknowledge that we are in the same.
Because the center pole is the Nicene Creed.
That's right. So, yeah. It's been, honestly, it's been very, very helpful as a clarifying statement when people go like, well, do you agree with are they invited to the table? You know, it's like, well, are they aligned with this? Because this is what this is our center.
This is the bottom line for
This
us.
is what holds us together. And it's not to say that if you struggle with people who maybe don't agree with you on some of those more, I guess you could call secondary matters, that you're not invited to the space, or that you're not allowed in or anything. It's like we would say that we're all kind of moving towards this, like, it's almost kind of more of like a bounded versus a centered set idea of going, this is our center and this is what we would say we all unite around, and we're going to all be in a wide array outside. It's not an in or out.
This is the center of gravity that holds us all.
The center of gravity. That is a perfect verb. I'm going to use that going forward. So that's helpful. So it's just been really helpful in providing that clarity for people about who do we engage with and who do we not. So, yeah.
That's good stuff. So what keeps you up at night?
Oh, right now, 2 children. If you want to be quite honest.
And you said they're 5-year-olds,
5 and 7. I'll be honest. Only one of them still sometimes keeps us up at night.
No. Wait till he's a teenager driving.
Oh my word! Yes,
then you never
the
sleep.
days are coming.
You do not sleep at all when they're driving.
Can't wait. It just never goes away. Awesome. I think, goodness, there's so many things that come to mind, but I think that the exhaustion and overwhelm and burnout of leaders in the faith community is something that the Lord has given me a very specific burden for. And I now am seeing that disunity is a huge reason that that's happening. Disconnection, loneliness, overwhelm. It's like I've always kind of carried this just honestly, like, just grief over the fact that there are these men and women who have come forward and said, like, Lord, I want to lead. I want to step into these places, and with a passion and a desire to make a difference in the world. And it's just like over time, they just get more and more worn down and worn out, and they burn out and they leave.
What they end up doing isn't what they signed up for.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I see that when I see young, people are like these young men and women who are coming out of college, and they're just like so excited. And I'm like, it's going to eat you alive,
That's right,
And I just go, man, I think the system, for lack of a better word, feels broken. And I think it's producing the very results it's designed to produce. It's worn out and exhausted and overwhelmed leaders that are, man, like the fire that was there that started this is not there,
and the damage it not only does to the leader, but to the leader's family.
Yes.
It's the number of children who are PKs and MKs.
Absolutely.
Like, really
I'm not here for that. Absolutely. The hurt, the woundedness, and at best, just the utter, I'm burnt out. I can't do it anymore.
That's right.
So that has laid heavy on me for so long, for many, many years. And I'm now starting to make this connection of going, I think again, I don't know a better word to use, but the system feels broken. And there's something about this idea of the body of Christ starting to align more with how God architected his church to function as a body, like truly as a unified body, that I think might be part of the key to like unlock a new way that is like life-giving and encouraging. Not only is it like a strategically good decision to collaborate and work alongside one another, because you're going to do more together than you can ever do apart. So yeah, like makes sense logically, but I also think there's something about just the spiritual transformation that can happen within the body of Christ when we start to operate as one, and we really actually function as one, that I hope and pray revives the leaders around our city and beyond. And certainly as we bring up a new generation of leaders, that they're like, we're bringing them into something that is healthy and life-giving and encouraging. Like that's the vision.
So what gets you up early in the morning?
Also the children. I'm like, interesting you would ask. Oh, goodness. These are great questions, Pastor Mike. I think I have, as I think I've shared, I have more hope than I ever have before. I have more awareness than I ever have before of what God is doing in the city of Nashville. Mm-hmm. And I can say the city of Nashville, but as we're connected with cities around the country that are doing this work, and I'm on calls with them all the time, we're in text threads, just encouraging one another, hearing what's happening around the country, and I'm like, oh my word.
Yeah, that's the Elijah prayer. I'm the last one, and God says, I got 800 over here to the side, so don't think you're the last one.
No, that's so good.
Sometimes if we don't see it happening in our little playground, then we think, well, God has abandoned us.
Right.
No, he's over here working. He's fine.
Absolutely. So. And I think that, honestly, that community has been like lifeblood for me, because on the days where I'm like, what are we doing? Yeah. I get a story from someone, in the Chicago area or in DFW that's like, guess what just happened in our city today? And I'm like, oh, okay. I can do this another day. Yeah. But more than anything, I think knowing that the Lord is at work in our city and is stirring hearts and is drawing people together. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people are just tired and they're just hungry for something different and a new way to move forward together. And I just have so much hope, truly, for what the Lord is doing in our city, that I'm just like, I can't believe I get to be part of this. Right, and so just may I be faithful with whatever you have asked us to do in this space, because I am aware of something much, much bigger that's happening in our city and beyond. But man, that is a crazy fun thing to get to be part of. Yes.
Yeah, that's a blast. Yeah.
Yes.
So if I want to find out more about Together Nashville, where do I go?
Yes, we just launched some things on social media recently. I was like, I think you got to do it. You got to be on the social media somewhere.
I've had some pastors say, I don't want to be on social media. I said, well, that's tough because your people are there.
They are. Yeah, that is so true.
People, you better be on social media.
It's true. And also, let's be honest. Let's put some like good, encouraging, redemptive things on social media. So we just started there. You can find us on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also go to togethernashville.org, where we've got just information on who we are and what we're about. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, my absolute favorite thing that I've gotten to do over this last year and a half is just to get to sit across the table from people in this city and to hear what God is doing through their ministries or their churches, hear what God's putting on their heart, vision that they have. And so, man, it has been way more fun than I could have imagined getting to do that. And so I just would love any opportunity to get to sit across the table from someone and hear their story and hear what God is doing and what it looks like to engage together. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. She's Melanie Wise. Her organization is Together Nashville. And so get on togethernashville.org and find a way that you can get connected and to all that's going on in the great city of Nashville. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much. This has been fun. Appreciate it.